It is great having you on this conference. For the audience, I will say that basically Stefan represents BUSU, which is one of the leading, if not the leading, language learning communities in the world. It is an online business, app-based business, which enables people to learn languages in various countries. The founder, Bernard, is a good friend of ours, and basically BUSU grew starting in 2009, if I remember correctly, to a business which serves more than 100 million customers worldwide. And Stefan is the product manager at BUSU, if I'm correct. If not, please correct me. And BUSU said that he is the best person to tell us about how they use Agile and the Agile mentality, so to say, in their company. They are based in UK, London, and serve from their location in UK the whole world. So, Stefan, go ahead. Thanks for being with us.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm now going to quickly just share my screen. 1 second. Here we go.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone good?
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, thanks for the intro. I'm Stephen. I'm the lead product manager for growth at BUSU. I've been there around 3 years. I previously worked for a startup called Moo.com, who've gone on to obviously, great things as well as Eurostar. I've been around quite a few transformations. Actually, I work for a language learning app, I only speak English. So just kind of proof that, maybe there's something beyond just like the relevance of the product goes into a bit more. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. And at BUSU, that was a great intro, but our mission is really to provide the best way to learn a language through smart learning combined with social interactions. And within that, we've got a community of over 100 million users now learning a variety of languages. We have 3,000 lessons. We've created people's fluency scores, working with speech recognition. We've using a lot of AI technology to produce study plans for our users as well. And the core thing is the community within it, where you can actually connect with native speakers in the language you're learning, get corrected, and kind of go on the journey together. And over the years, we've done some pretty cool stuff, whether in the App Store, Google Play, or on our website. So yeah, that's just a little bit about BUSU. But I suppose, what's this talk about? So this is the best way I could kind of make it viewable as a screen. It's a whistle-stop tour. There's so much in each of all these things that I'd love to talk about when it comes to experimentation and Agile. But I'm going to try and give you an overview of our approach and some guidance that I've found along the way. It's kind of hard to scratch the surface of experimentation and cultural shifts and how to use it. But if you want to talk afterwards, I'd love to, and I'll leave my details on at the end. And the top three things I'd love you guys to take away, if anything, from today, would be experimentation could be a catalyst for cultural change. When I joined in 2017, we ran occasional experiments. We had a much smaller team, like a quarter of the size that we have now. And it really was the thing that we took forward as the vehicle to help drive this cultural change. Secondly, getting to know your business. For experimentation to be successful, you need to know what areas of your business to focus on. You need to understand what you are in charge of and what you can move, and how your product, your team, your business, your company, how it grows. So I'll touch on this a bit when it comes to some strategy. And finally, the third most important thing I want to cover really is something called repeatable loops, and how we use them to connect and align our teams, the wider business. We get buy-in, and for me, alignment has been the single biggest driver for success at BUSU. So quickly jumping back to April 2017 when I joined, BUSU was coming out of a major shift. I don't think Bernhard would mind me saying that it went from really, really great heights to very, very bad lows, where we had to, lots of replatforming. The company changed a lot, and we overextended ourselves. And Bernhard is very, very grateful that seeing through that tough time and being where we are today. And it's very common. It happens a lot in startup world, and a lot of people don't live to tell the tale. But there was a big desire back then to shift in mentality and to make things work. You know, back to 2017, this is a kind of, I suppose, a diagram of a common starting point for us. We'd created strategic silos. We had ended up building things for the product in this way. It was very, very functional. And this really, really impacted our ability to deliver meaningful change for our product and for ourselves. And we hit moments of success along the way. There was certainly some good parts, you know, but what we found is nothing was sustainable, and it quickly back to where we started. And for, I suppose, anyone else trying to detect, do you have this lack of strategy? Are you in this moment? Well, you know, it's not often detectable by the number of strategy documents or spreadsheets you've got lying around, but it's pretty much clear to see when you've got a lot of thrashing around. There's a lack of purpose. There's a lot of randomness. Ideas are hit and miss, and you don't know why. And ultimately, your growth slows. And so I want to do a little working example of this. So imagine a tactic, whatever it is in your business, whatever your business is. At the very beginning, we discover a new tactic, right? It shows really, really great success. We go ahead and optimize this tactic. We roll it out. But you quickly reach a ceiling. Tactics become adopted by the masses, by your competitors, and then the tactic fatigues. And you're back where you started, trying to find another big change to do. Again, most of the time you're just left asking why. Moments of success become distant memories, and most of the time it's actually just pain. So this talk is about bringing an experimentation culture to help solve that, and in order to drive forward with a strategy. So why experiment at all? You know, indeed, what even is experimentation? I'd love to go into kind of loads of detail on this, but again, another talk for another day. What's the point of doing experimentation? Well, the lovely people at Optimizely have shared this from Harvard and Duke, where they've done a huge study of 35,000 startups, which actually showed there are substantial benefits to doing experimentation at all, which is great because, you know, the idea of experiments are obviously is a nice to have, but is there empirical evidence that this thing works? And the answer is yes. So in the study done by Harvard and Duke, they found that there were big impacts on the companies who actually conducted experiments. And whether it was products launched, the funding you got from VCs, the length of time a user spent on your site, or the pages they viewed, right? There was actual data that proved that this had a huge success. And this is like you know, I love this quote. It's something I touch on a little bit about experimentation being for the future. And it talks about learning and folding it back on itself. And that's the whole point of experimentation for me, not to assess what we've done, but to see where we're going. And, you know, I won't talk loads, I suppose, directly about Agile, but this is one thing that I do think really, really meaningful to me over this journey. And this is, you know, the heart of Agile by Alistair Cockburn, and how, you know, I think it's as good a definition as you can get when it comes to Agile. It's simple, it's humble, it's common sense, and that's the beauty of it. And it's the exact same approach we took when building an experimentation culture. You know, everything was built on having self-serving data for ourselves, so we can find exactly what we want when we want it. We had a mentality of challenging the status quo. In fact, you know, Bernhard, our CEO, this is one of our company values, right? We often talk about it, right? Why is something the way it is? Can we change it? And then there was the idea of being able to ideate and collaborate, obviously, and the true thing that lies beneath it for experimentation: testing, measuring, and learning, and changing that as we go. And everything came down to understanding why something had changed. But ultimately, you know, strategy kind of comes first before all of this, before we talk about experimentation culture. And where it sits is between the mission and the execution. So it's important to state that experimentation itself isn't a strategy. You know, like a roadmap, a backlog, it's almost irrelevant if you don't have some guiding principles to know where you're going. And this is what is called the Busu Value Delivery Engine. It's taken from the growth hacking concept done by Sean Ellis. We spent a lot of time looking at this. And this is all about understanding how your product operates and grows. When you can understand how your product operates and grows your business, it allows you to consider all the points to where to focus your experimentation. You may choose one, you may choose two, you may choose more, all of them. All right. It doesn't matter the size of your business, but it's understanding where you can make the most impact and where you should focus. And it simply shows how the product operates as a series of loops, investing the output back into themselves and then helping to build a compounding impact. I won't go into how to build the strategy right now. Again, it's another thing I'd love to go into much more detail to, but I wanted to kind of give a really great overview of what we've done. You know, the next thing we want to kind of cover is what do we want to optimize for? It doesn't matter what you're doing within your company, if it's a product facing element or it's a, you know, purely internal efficiency. The mission is the thing that points us forward and the strategy fuels that purpose. So, you know, it could be improving execution, making a scalable organization. Using experimentation to get there will make the world of difference to whatever you're optimizing for. And the next part is really about being able to measure that success, right? So metrics are the defining thing which help us measure if we're doing this all right. Okay, spend time in alignment discussions, iterate and improve your metrics. All metrics are up for grabs, but the ideas for experiments you produce must align with these. If you don't have them well aligned, it doesn't matter how agile you are, how good your stand-ups run, or anything like that. It will not make the difference over time. You know, the concept of North Star metrics, team metrics, sub-metrics, they all want to align and they can move one another. Spend time debating and observing how you test and move them. A working example of this. So at the very, very top, you've got your company target, call it a revenue figure to increase profit at the very top, right? So as we kind of scale down, you know, you've got a couple of supporting metrics, how you're going to go out and approach this. Within this, you've got some sub-metrics, right? And then beneath this, you have a series of proxy metrics. This is really what we do at Boostu and what we found really, really important because it can work with any framework you have whatsoever. But the truth is that alignment is key in this. So whether you've got an OKR framework, it really doesn't matter what you built. The key is that we understand how things align and how they move each other, because it's the answer to everything. If I can move proxy metric 1 at the bottom, I can drive sub metric 2, so on and so forth. And you will find people throughout your business who are all dealt with moving one of these metrics. And that's the key to building the team afterwards, right? Finding the people who you can work with to move something. And the next part is really around team. Team is everything, right? We've established the strategy. We understand we have metrics and they're aligned with the overall company target, but the team is next. If you don't have a team, you need to fight for one, right? You use your previous set of aligned metrics. I mean, you can quickly find others in your organization who have the same responsibilities and mission. And this is what I did when I came to Boostu. It was really about finding those people who I could help drive this forward with, people who had the responsibility to effect change. And then we went about, you know, showing how we would do that. And it was building understanding together, building a series of ideas based on, you know, data. And that was really, really important in the early days for us. And when it comes to the team, getting into a bit around, you know, Drive by Daniel Pink and applying some of the principles. And this is what we're striving for, right? Some key values that each person needs to be able to embrace within the team. Autonomy, right? The feeling of having a say in the direction of one's own life and career. Purpose, understanding the importance of your work. So this really ties into that strategy thing we were just talking about. And then mastery, the feeling of having a say in the direction of your life and your career. So it's all these things will add up to the team being motivated and wanting to go out and execute your experiments. Because motivation, like, you know, users in your products or in your businesses or customers, is central to the engagement and the fulfillment of your team and ultimately your business, right? And all this connects mission, values, strategy, and tactics. And you can see the value of an experimentation culture in being the catalyst for the organizational shift in mentality. Again, a passion area of mine is the concept of loops. This one is, again, from Growth Hackers and Sean Ellis. But loops really are behind everything for us. It's about reinvesting the output back into the process. And, you know, when we talk about actual individual people, we're trying to find a growth mindset, people who want to experiment, find new ways do something. And that's, you know, one of the Busuu values for us. The other thing is, you know, being super data driven, providing self-serving platforms that anyone can look something up and you know, come up with an idea or hypothesis. And then having that shared mission, right, driving into that strategy. All these things, when they're reinvested, they help drive that cross-functional cooperation. And, you know, whether it's teams or ideas, creating loop effects is really, really powerful. And the loop is all that matters. It doesn't matter how many tests you run or how sophisticated they are. If the output doesn't feed back into themselves to form an input, then you can't learn and you can continue the spiral. Right? We need more learnings. We need to increase the number of inputs. We need to increase the success outputs to increase the performance of the team. Now, when it comes to experiments, one thing to really point out is being wary of driving blind, as it's known. If you're not running experiments, you're in the dark about the changes you're making. And if you're running them, but you're not understanding why something won or lost and the change you made, why it had the impact it did, then you're driving in the dark and you will be making changes without any understanding. So spend the time to understand why something changed something, why it made a difference. And this is everything we've built upon at Busuu, has been spending times in meetings, you know, looking at data, speaking to users, and then going out of our individual teams and talking with each other, building a set of interests shared together. And the talk is, you know, it's not about how to build experiment ideas, you know, but one thing that is truly important is focusing on some of the smaller things, right? And you'll find the more you test, the more ideas you get, the more it continues to compound. Some wise words on why, you know, experiments must be methodically approached. You know, it's very difficult to improve one thing by 100%. It's much easier to improve 100 things by 1% for the same effect. And this is not always looking for the moonshots, but this is always continuing to reinvest and create outputs to put them back into your ideas to come up with new ones. And along the way, you're going to have some big wins. I thought it'd be a great time to share a quick snapshot of, you know, some of those ideas that we had. And this is just a list of some of them, the ones we completed in the last few weeks and months. You know, it's got ideas, platforms, hypotheses. These are all aligned with the growth levers that we previously talked about. And it's important to find the system that helps drive this for you. For us, this was the growth hacking approach for us. But there was always a series of ideas with people who were responsible. You can even see the CEO's name in there as well, next to mine and a bunch of other people. But this was, I thought, a really nice artifact for you guys to kind of have a look at. The impact of testing, right? So it doesn't matter, right, unless it makes a difference for us. So this is Busuu's a Busuu platform, some revenue growth over the last few years. And you can see, I couldn't actually extend this graph out any further, but at the very beginning, it was very, very flat. So you can see when we started our experimentation program, we hit a first big win after a lot of small changes, and you see the steepness of the curve continue to go up. And then along the way, we hit another step change, right? So the idea is this line will continue over time just to get higher, higher and higher. And that's what we're trying to do. This is about smaller optimizations that sometimes lead to much bigger step changes, but we're trying to kind of grow bit by bit in an intelligent and scalable way. So, you know, strategy, metrics, team, whatever frameworks you've chosen to help support delivering experimentation. You know, how do you know you have an experimentation culture? And this is, I suppose, coming to the end now. The word A/B test is common understanding throughout every team, and it is at Busuu. Every person, whether it's from the office manager testing a different idea, or all the way to, you know, the product team's engineering running hundreds of tests, right? You're running qualitative feedback sessions to understand the why of what happened. Every person can run their own A/B test. It doesn't matter where they are. People say we run too many A/B tests. This is my favorite one. And this is kind of like, you know, I'll continue to push at this. Once, you know, someone's telling me we're running too many, I figure we've got to run some more. And you spend time validating why things won and only then rolling them out. And you have been made to feel stupid a lot along the way, which we have definitely done more times than I can even explain. But the key thing is you start hitting your objectives and the KPIs and the metrics that you wanted to move in the first place. Performance improves ultimately. So yeah, top 3 things I wanted you to take away really. You know, why experimental? it can be a catalyst for cultural change. It provides focus, buy-in, and purpose. You can measure impact, repeat cycles, and expand. Get to know your business, know the opportunities by firstly understanding where your business grows, otherwise you're testing in the blind. And establish repeatable loops. Jump through these loops, make them turn as many times as possible. It's compounding growth and it's compounding happiness for your team and ultimately for the business. And that's everything from me. So yeah, feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn. You know, there's my email address. I'd love to discuss things further with everyone. I wasn't probably able to give really insight into some of the more specifics today, but I'd love to continue the conversation elsewhere. And thanks very much.